but you have to be willing to do unconventional things. Whatever you find your one word, it's a message to help others, but it's still always a message for yourself. I want to spread belief for others, and I still need to believe more in myself. This is your chance to find yourself and be heard. Margaret!
Hello.
So what do you got? How can I help?
So I think what I'd like to ask of you is, I've been reading your one-word book, which is amazing. Okay. And I'd like some clarity around that, if you can help me with that.
Yeah.
I've read it a couple of times and I'm not quite getting past the point of finding the one word. Okay. And I realise the value of that. So shall I just give you some background so you know where I'm at? Yeah. So I'm a photographer, and I've been a wedding photographer for 16 years, but it wasn't my passion, it was just a way of earning income. Yeah. So I've always had a passion for landscape photography. And so
I see a beautiful one behind you on the wall there. Is that yours? Did you take that?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's not in Scotland, though.
That is, that's the Outer Hebrides. So I do a lot of work on the Outer Hebrides.
Nice.
So,
all right. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, I started up my business called Quiet Landscapes. And it's based around all the values that I have in my own life. So, and it's also, my passion. So I love traveling. I travel solo to these islands. I love quiet places. I'm an introvert, which is a big thing. And I just really like to bring over the values of being solitude in nature, quiet places. I swim outdoors and all these things as a way of nurturing creativity and living this kind of unconventional lifestyle as well. So I started this business 2 years ago called Quiet Landscapes, and it's basically leading retreats to these quiet places and teaching people photography, which is amazing. And it's doing okay. And then COVID happened, and I sort of went online, and then I started to think deeper about what it is exactly I'm doing here. It's not just teaching photography; it's more than that. So I launched a course called Finding Your Voice Through Contemplative Photography a couple of months ago, and it's going really well. And what I really love most of all is inspiring people to finding their own voice, so finding their own style. A lot of people ask me, how can I find my style? But actually, finding your style is really like finding yourself. So it's discovering who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, you start to find your own way in life, and you can see the way forward with your work. People don't always realise that until we start going through that process. Yeah. But I'm absolutely loving it. I'm loving working with people and seeing them, come into their own and start to understand these concepts. So there's a few points that I'm not quite sure whether can I niche down, do I niche down, or I've got a few things. One is introverts and feeling unheard. That's one of my personal pain points. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's probably the big one, actually. And so I love encouraging introverts to feel comfortable in their skin and to realise their own talents. There's also like losing yourself. So when I was 35, I split up with my husband and turned around one day and went, who am I? I've lost everything that's me. And I wasn't doing the work that I wanted to do. I wasn't swimming. I wasn't doing all these things. And I suddenly went, hang on a minute, stop. And I changed my life around. So I refound myself through photography. Mm-hmm. And then there's the teaching the photography, which is like, then it becomes more of a teaching thing. So there's those three things that I just need a bit of, I think, clarity and knowing how far I can niche down so I can actually reach the right people and build the business. Which is still quite small, but it needs built.
Yeah, great. Okay, there we go. So what have you been playing around with for your one word? What ideas have come up?
I think that the obvious one is quiet for me. My business called Quiet Landscapes and quiet. So really, it's very valuable to me. I think that there's a lot of I don't like noise. I don't like busy places. I don't like loud people. So all those things that I don't like.
We'll tone it down.
Yeah. So nice and quiet. And then the word voice as well is kind of, when I created that Finding Your Voice, that really resonated with me. And the people that can't quite see their inner self or are struggling as introverts to get heard. So those two things really, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's interesting that. Yeah. This is the opportunity because people would see quiet and voice to be opposites. right?
Right. Yes.
And you're going to bring them together, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Who's your favorite teacher of all time?
Well, teacher, I couldn't do that. I couldn't find one, actually. That's probably the one question that I couldn't answer.
Wow. In your entire career, but not even school, like photography teachers or... No.
I had a very, very negative experience at college. So that was a bit of a struggle. My tutors weren't very open to me, just because I was quiet, So
well, here's the thing,
struggled massively.
Because it's going to be unconventional, because you like unconventional. So it's not going to be a conventional teacher at a conventional school. So who have you learned, whether it's online, whether it's a course, whether it's a book, like they've taught you?
So taught, I think Susan Cain, quite revolution. So, the don't even know that book, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Speaking, I think it's called. That was the pivotal moment for me when I read that about introverts. So, learning, from now on.
Have you ever connected with her or watched the videos or listened to an interview or anything, or it's just a book? Okay.
I watch her. Yeah.
What do you like about her style, her voice, her tone, her mindset?
She's softly spoken, which is powerful. And she's putting herself out there when it goes against the natural grain of an introvert. A bit like me and you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because she's got this message, and it's a really important message to bring over, and that's what pushes you out. That's what pushes you out of your comfort zone. So I started public speaking a few years ago, and it was terrifying. But I did it because I want to bring this message across. It's so important to me. And it almost uplifts you, actually. And it's a good thing to do then when you've got this message that you want to bring across, but it's quite difficult to do as an introvert.
So as you're talking, as you're going through it, I think there's definitely something around powerful inspiration. Like that's the main thing. And then whatever word choice kind of best reflects. And then underneath it, like how do you then find that inner power? Well, okay, you need to then quiet fits under it, right? You need to have quiet time, because to find your inner voice, you have to, at least for the people you're targeting, right? You need to, you have to have solitude. You have to have quiet time. So that's part, then part could become being to find yourself, and to have that power, you have to be willing to do unconventional things. You can't just follow the same rule book everybody else followed. And it's also partly why you like, I could see people come into your photography classes just as a means to find their power without even caring about photography. Like maybe they never pick up a camera afterwards. They just came to discover themselves and figure out what their inner voice is, right?
Yeah, that's what I'd like. Yeah.
You're teaching people life skills through photography. Whether they end up going on to being a landscape photographer or not, like I'm sure it'll be a life-changing experience. Being one of your students.
It's just the vehicle. The photography is the vehicle for teaching this, and it doesn't really matter whether it's really, really technical photography. It can be just iPhone photography.
Well, it's also unconventional, which is you, right? It's like it's not going to. We're going to teach you about life through photography, because most people when they go to photography class, and I've been through one myself, it's all about the technical details about shutter speed and like I'm overwhelmed in a second. But that's why most people would go to a photography class, where this is a journey to self-discovery, and this is one of the tools that we're going to use as a camera, right?
That's right. Yeah.
How much of it is on the nurturing side too? Like you said that a couple of times about nurture, nature. Like how do you see that elements? Is that just quiet? Like is nature part of quiet, or is nature part of nurturing for you?
Nature is probably quiet for me. It's also, I suppose it's also nurturing because it's taking that time. When I go into nature, it's to take that time that, the time that really fills me up and revitalizes me and inspires me to take the images. So that's sort of all involved in self-care, isn't it? So a lot of people don't take that time for self-care. So it's also encouraging people to go into nature and to do that self-care bit. So that's nurturing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the different buckets, right? I mean, you're, what other things do you do? So how many students go typically with you in one of these classes?
Between 8 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a super, intimate group, which is great.
Yeah, yeah.
What other kind of nurturing things do you do? Either you to them or them to each other?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Well, I'm encouraging them to journal, that sort of thing, and to not to rush around. So we're slowing down. Mindful photography, teaching mindful photography. So it's one of the big things is to slow down, not to rush around, and to feel like you've got to like take images almost. It's more about the process. It's teaching them that the process is really important, and the end goal isn't as important as the experience. So they're enjoying that time, and again, I suppose that's nurturing, isn't it? Because you're then filling your own world by enjoying the time that you're taking. So I suppose is that there's also having nice accommodation and nice food, good food, and downtime, plenty of downtime, rather than running from one location to the other. So that's all part of how it looks when it's a physical retreat. But I'm open to adapting that. I've thought about adding in other things, and I'm not quite sure whether it jars with it or not. Like the wild swimming for me is really important. Whether you'll get people who want to wild swim in the Antipodes, I'm not sure. But it's all part of it. For me, it is, and also maybe spa kind of treatments and wellness and that sort of thing. So it sort of verges on that, but I'm not quite sure whether the two match.
Yeah. Okay. So I think at the top, you're looking at something around inspiration, powerful. I tend to lean towards the positive. So like unheard, what's the opposite?
Yeah, right.
Heard. Of unheard?
Yeah.
Heard? Yeah, I mean,
heard.
I guess.
Heard.
Duh.
That's an easy one. Listen to is the thing, isn't it? Being listened to.
Yeah. And for all of those, it's always, whatever you find your one word, it's a message to help others, but it's still always a message for yourself. It's both, right? It's like I want to spread belief for others, and I still need to believe more in myself to do the next thing. I
get
right?
that. Yeah.
So you found your voice to this point, but you need to find an even bigger voice to get to the next. It's this constant, but something around inspiring, powerful voice heard at the top, and underneath, how do you do it? So how do you actually then find that powerful voice? Well, first, quiet. You have to have quiet. You're not going to find it when you're surrounded by chaos and everything is bonkers crazy. So that could lead to travel. That could lead to isolation. That could lead to just spending time with the camera. So, so for your retreats, it's going to be, it's great to have a group setting, but then they also have to have solo time just to be quiet and be on their own.
Yeah.
So quiet, definitely under there. Unconventional, right? You're not going to find your voice, your power source through the conventional means. Because if that was true, everybody would have done it by now. Yeah. If they taught this in school, everybody would be happy coming out.
Yeah.
And so then also, reminding people of what you're going to be doing is unconventional, and also constantly trying to challenge yourself. How do I make things even more unconventional for people? Because it's in that unconventionality that they find themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
When you introduce something brand new, like photography or nature walks or things they may not have done, they discover that part of themselves that they may not have ever found before. And then the third part, so like quiet, unconventional, and then either nurture or self-love. I don't know which one kind of feels more right to you, but in order to find your power, find your voice, feel heard, quiet is definitely part of it, but also like the self-love component, the caring component to yourself, not putting too much pressure and stress on yourself, forgiving yourself for past mistakes. That component, I think, is from how you're describing it. Super helpful. So in the book, you've got your one word and then the credo underneath. So the credo could be quiet, unconventional, and nurture, or quiet, unconventional, and self-love. And then everything you do kind of fits into one of those buckets or multiple buckets, right? So if I'm going on a retreat with you, there's going to be moments of quiet. It's definitely going to be unconventional, and there's going to be lots of moments of self-love or nurture. But the goal of all of that is to help people feel heard, be inspired.
That's right.
Find their voice, feel powerful. So those are the kind of general buckets that I see from talking to you. It's then what feels the most right. So, at the top, what feels better? Powerful, voice, heard, inspired? What connects the most? There's no perfect, but
yeah, I think it's probably heard. I think it's to do with being heard. Yeah, I think so. And it's me as well as other people, because, other people struggle with that. And, they do come to me because they want to feel more heard in this world, but they do it through the photography. So they want their photography to be more looked at, to be, to have a bigger profile. But in order to do that, they need to do these steps and to start looking into themselves a little bit. So I guess it is that thing. And one of the things that really, really lights me up is if somebody comes to me after, say, I've given a talk or something, and they've said, "Oh wow, that's really given me what's the word? A belief in myself, and belief that actually I'm okay as I am as an introvert, and I don't need to change or adapt myself, to fit in more." So I think that's the big thing for me, and to make them feel heard, I think is a really big thing for me.
Yeah, I love it. So, you sit on it, come back, find your quiet space, have some nurture and self-love, and it'll only feel more and more right with time. Or if tomorrow, if you're 68% today, just see how you're at tomorrow. And if it's getting worse and worse, then it's not right. It's not that being heard is not the thing, but it might be more around voice or power or inspiration. But if belief just felt more and more right. And so try to imagine yourself at 90, are you still going to care about having people feel heard? You'd be sitting in an old age home, teaching the other seniors, how to do photography and feel heard or whatever. Right. Yeah. So I would definitely run with that for now, and then go inside, be introspective, find a quiet spot, and see if with time, if that, a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, if it feels more and more right. And then underneath heard, you've got quiet, unconventional, nurture or self-love.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, well, and then now we apply to your business, right? Now it's just okay, well, now how do we turn that into a business and help people make money, all that. So now you run teachings about how to help people be heard, find their voice, especially introverts. And I would have two streams, one for just the general public who may not even care that much about photography, but you're giving them an avenue to feel heard. Right. Okay. And they can figure out who they are and all the benefits that come through the course. And it's going to be very beginner, entry level stuff. Yeah. And don't worry about your camera and bring your cell phone. Everybody's got a cell phone. Just come, and this is your chance to find yourself and be heard. And then that's, you gear the content towards whether they have to do meditation or journaling or, traveling they can't do now, but you could send them to a forest bathing or, maybe not everybody's by the water, but it could be, meditate to this music or this waterfall or something, right? Whatever, your style, but geared towards total beginners who don't care about photography. And then a second stream towards photographers who want to be heard and take this as a career professionally. Because you've done this, right? I mean, 16 years in wedding, but also lots of experience in the landscape, teaching people now how to be heard as a photographer and go, one step deeper where they still have to find themselves, but the exercises then become about, okay, that your messages be heard, that could change how you take pictures, if I was going to... That makes sense, That sort of sorts things out in my head actually a little bit, because those two strains actually are quite important, because when you mix the two, it doesn't quite work. But I was thinking about creating a course for people to go on to become a bit more serious about photography, to go on to do things like exhibitions and books and things like that. But that doesn't fit with the beginner kind of just more mindful
work.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Art makes people feel.
Yeah.
Great art makes people feel. And photography is art. You don't have to just be painting to be an artist. You're an artist. When you took that picture of the waves there, it's beautiful behind you. When you see it, you should feel something. And so now what you're doing is, if a photographer wants to get more exhibitions, wants to get more heard, wants to be heard more, right? Be seen more, their art, their pictures need to evoke emotion.
That's right. Yeah.
From their potential customers, not just a self, it means something to me, but it's got to mean something to other people too. So if you know what you value going in, like if you did this exercise with me and I said, oh, believe, and now I'm already a photographer, I'm going to go now take different pictures because I'm now understanding I want people to feel believe through my photos. Yeah. So I don't know what that looks like. If I'm standing on the, beaches of Scotland, maybe I'm trying to find, the bird in the sky, or I'm trying to find like the waves at the right time that when I look at it, it makes me feel believe, as opposed to just like, did I get the shutter speed right? And is it out of focus? Totally. And like all the technical things that then you lose the art.
That's right. Yeah.
But the art, a lot of people can't express it because they're just saying, oh, that makes me feel good, or it looks cool. Yeah. Look at how does it make you feel? Yeah. And people can't pinpoint it. And so it becomes difficult to express and create. So if you did that exercise, even with the advanced photographers, and they come up and they say, whatever, any of these things, self-love, nurture, inspire.
Right.
They'll take pictures. They'll take better pictures, even if you never even touch shutter speed and everything else. They'll just take better pictures because now they're taking pictures with their heart instead of just with their eyes. Yeah, exactly. That makes all the difference.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to teach, and I do that in my own photography really well. I've got to the point where I'm taking images from an emotive point of view rather than technical. They're not all technically correct, but they've got heart to it. You feel something. It's all waves, but it's my connection to the sea and water that's so powerful, and it's so deep with me that it makes me feel calm, and it makes me feel happy and peaceful, and all these things that when I'm standing at the water's edge. So I found that in myself, and it's teaching everybody else to find that for themselves, and it can look like different things depending on their life experience, I think, and their values. So that exercise is quite good.
And being able to label it, to say, what I value the most is inspiration. And so, the next time I feel inspired, or the next time when I'm looking over at this beautiful beach, like what makes me feel the most inspired? And somebody then may shift it to say, oh, I don't actually want to take pictures of the waves. I love the sand. And I love that black rock in the middle of all the sand, because that makes me feel inspired, right? Like it just changes the lens from just seeing it how you would do it into them uncovering their own genius.
Yeah, you're quite good at this, aren't you?
Yeah, I do.
That's brilliant. That's perfect. That says it all, actually. And, I'm trying to move that now into the online space, which is, it's working really well. And I'm looking at different models. The people I've been working with have been amazing, and they've really come on. They did like a 4-week like taster courses, and they're wanting me to work longer with them. So I'm thinking of membership or longer courses. I'm just exploring those ideas so that we can keep that input going and build the business so it's more secure for myself, and I don't have to photograph weddings every week.
I love it. Well, I mean, online makes sense because you also love unconventional. So this is great. Yeah. It's just now through all the course material, it's helping them figure out what their most important core value is that they're going to take their pictures through. Yeah. And then how can you inject quiet? Like maybe everybody comes on the group call and the first half an hour is quiet. No talking. You're just quiet together, right? Because maybe people don't force enough quietness on their own, or they have to have done some quiet time before they come onto the call as part of their quiet has to be built into the system, and some accountability. Like my wife and I meditate every morning together. So we, lie down, hold hands, and have a meditation session going. It's quiet, but together, right? Yeah. So maybe you're doing a Zoom call, and it's group quiet.
I like that. I mean,
Whether you play the sounds of the beach or something, you know, on the background, whether it's guided or not. And then how can you inject more nurturing and self-care into the technical components of it too? Like when people judge themselves that it's not good enough and that then they took a bad picture, or that, you know, they're never going to get it, or
that's right.
How can you make them, you know, I think from you to them, from each other, you know, like find a way to support each other in the group, like post to our private Facebook group your latest picture and give love and help each other out. Because you're always, you know, people are afraid to show their pictures being judged. And it's not good enough.
Fear of judgment,
For sure. So if you create this little family that's intimate, this group, that then it's no judgment zone and it's only love and support. Like if you're not a nurturer, if you don't believe in nurturing, like don't come and be a part of my group.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's that,
And so when somebody
no
posts
ego, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also
leave
like,
the ego behind.
Beyond that, it's like I'm here to try to serve, right? Like I'm people in your group should be wanting to help the others. So if you take a picture of the waves, I'm sure some technical photographer would say, "Well, look how blurry it is, and look at you, like
exactly,
right?" And people are usually really hard on themselves and might be afraid to even post it. But in your group, if people come and say, "Oh, I love how you," whatever, right? To show that nurturing side,
that's right.
Is what I think will keep people coming back, because you're creating connection for them, especially for introverts. It's not that we don't like other people. We just value really meaningful connections with people.
That's right. Yeah, totally. A meaningful conversation is absolutely fine. Yeah, but chit chat is a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
It's that time when you're connecting with people that really get it. It's really
that's something that a lot of introverts don't understand, and I didn't understand either for a while. That you actually want to still be a part of a community.
Yeah, totally.
You still want to talk about meaningful things.
Yeah.
It's not that introvert means you just always need to be by yourself and hate people.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're creating an outlet for them to do it. And if you just keep filtering all your decisions through that, through, you know, helping people feel heard. Does my next book, does my next course, does my next program, does my next consulting, did I help make everybody feel heard in this group?
Yeah.
And I do that by giving them a quiet space, by introducing unconventional things, and by giving them nurturing self-love. I think it gives a lot more. In that framework, there's so many things you could still do. But it gives a pattern, gives a framework, and you talk about those things in your marketing so that people see that and say, holy cow, this is, I don't even care about photography, but I want to sign up for that because that sounds really cool.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Love that. Okay, cool. So that's brilliant. I think that's the thing that maybe, because I was wondering actually about yourself, you know, you're an introvert, which is what actually, I heard you on Kathy Heller's podcast first, and then what really clicked with me was that you're an introvert, yet you're doing all these, you're on lives all day, and you're talking all the time, and you know, you're out there all the time. So I guess I sort of was thinking, how do you conserve your energy? But it's because you're having it's because you're doing the things that makes you feel alive, isn't it? And you're having these conversations. Is that right?
Yeah. Like you today, in this 29 minutes together, you gave me energy. You didn't suck it from me.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so if I had to your point of chit chat and small talk and go to a networking event or something, like 15 minutes in, I'm depleted. I'm gone. Like I'm looking for the exit. How do I get out of here? But something like this, I could do all day.
Okay.
And it fills me with energy, right? So
thank you.
I think that's the difference, right? If you're doing meaningful work and you're creating meaningful connections, especially as an introvert, then it's not depleted of my energy at all. Like you've given me a 5% charge in my battery before what I had coming in, right?
That's brilliant. I guess it's when you know you've helped somebody as well. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It lifts you, doesn't it?
Yeah, even how we started, like, hey, okay, where are you from? Great, how can I help? It's like right into it.
Brilliant, I love it. That's great. That really helps me because I worry about my energy levels being, you know, depleted all the time with the online things. But actually, it is turning out to be the opposite when it's the right thing, when you're doing the right thing.
You know how in looking at through your credo, like the quiet and conventional nurturing self-love, this for me is quiet.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like it may not be for others, but being able to spend one-on-one time with somebody and talk through whatever they're dealing with, as long as I can add value. Like if you ask me about photography or so, I got nothing for you, but we're playing inside my, domain.
Yeah, got you.
So this is quiet time for me. This, it's not, if you think about like chaos and everything around that's what sucks our energy. This stuff is great. So, but you just pay attention to it. Like you pay attention if you feel like it's something is a certain client or a certain kind of client, or there's too many demands and you're feeling tapped out, then you'll make adjustments.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you.
The joy when you get, like just when you help somebody feel heard, when somebody's in front of you and now they've taken their first picture and now they actually feel heard and they posted it, you can't, like, there's no drug that's
I know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I get that now if I do we're on stage or something, not big stages, but, small speaking events. And, somebody comes to me after and says that it's helped them in some way. It's amazing. It's brilliant. Yeah, it should be draining as an introvert speaking in front of people, but it's not. So, I totally get that.
And I think that's part of what you teach, right? So like somebody mentioned in the chat here, I like that you acknowledge chit chat is draining. I thought it was just me.
It's boring.
but it's not for a lot of people.
I know.
Some people love it. I have friends of mine who just love it. They love it. And they're dying right now in COVID because they're like, they can't go out and talk to people. And this is not that hard. This is pretty, like, just stay at home and work on stuff and chat now and then with people. It's not that hard. So I think there's that, especially if you're catering to introverts, there's definitely unconventional re-education needs to happen to say, hey, this is normal. This is normal.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to go be that person and then get drained because you're trying to live a life that's not actually true to you.
And the problem is, I suppose, that introverts naturally just are quiet. So there's not that much said about it online. Not that you don't naturally take the stage or speak out so much. So it's really good to have a few people that do.
Quiet but powerful.
Exactly. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Cool.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you for your energy, and super excited to see where you take all this.
Thank you.
If you want to see another awesome one-on-one I did with an entrepreneur just like you, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.